in the ancient world, this is true in Roman society. This is also true in the societies of the Greek world and in a variety of peoples that made up the conglomeration of people that inhabited the Roman Empire. The view of disease was not primarily medical. It was instead religious. So if a disease outbreak afflicted a village or even a city, or in some rare cases, a region, the initial assumption was that some deity or perhaps deities were upset or had not been honored properly, that there was some sort of impiety that had brought about the wrath of some kind of divine, supernatural, spiritual forces. And it was up to the people of that area to figure out which deities were upset and what the best way was to placate them. So there are scapegoating rituals that we have from cities. Everything from, finding some poor guy off the street and marching him out of the city and never letting him back in, to stoning him, to various kinds of animal sacrifices, setting up statues. There are all sorts of ways in which plagues and pestilences could be mitigated. Now, with the Antonine Plague, this is something that people had not experienced, because this is not a disease that is restricted to one town or city or even a region. Very quickly, people realized, because of the connectivity of the Roman Empire, news spreads, they realized that the same disease that is affecting people in the cities of Asia Minor is also affecting people in London, is also affecting people in Gaul and Rome, and it's affecting soldiers in garrisons in various places. And so what do you do when disease is everywhere? And what's responsible for that? I mean, it must be some amount of divine wrath that is essentially unprecedented. What's happening to them is on a scale that they had never seen before and nobody had ever seen before. And so for them, the answer is we have to find some kind of almost global religious solution and a global religious cause. Now, that doesn't quite emerge during the Antonine Plague, but there are attempts to figure it out. For example, there is a guy named Alexander who is quite famous in Asia Minor, in the cities of Asia Minor. He's got a pet snake, which is probably not a real snake. It's like either a paper mache snake or it's a sock puppet or something. The accounts vary as to what it is. But he's this famous kind of celebrity folk healer, messiah, prophet. And he starts saying that his pet snake, who's, by the way, a reincarnated god, Asclepius, who's the god of medicine. So, of course, his snake would know the answer. So his snake tells him that if everybody in the Roman Empire puts some magic words on a necklace over their door, writes it down, then this will cause the pestilence to go away. And we see inscriptions in Asia Minor that have versions of these magic words. We even found an amulet, even all the way over on the shores of the Thames in London, that has these magic words in it. So his cure clearly becomes a kind of Roman Empire-wide solution. One of the things that we also see during this time, and it's unclear how much of a connection to the Antonine Plague there is, but I think there is at least some connection. We see a ratcheting up of persecution of various kind of outside religious groups. In Asia Minor, we have inscriptions where magicians are chased down and are sort of scapegoated for causing diseases there. But in other parts of the Roman Empire, we see an increase in the persecution of Christians. And as we know from accounts about this guy Alexander, Christians were one of two groups that refused to adopt Alexander's mitigation measures. They thought his magic words were stupid, that this was foolishness, that this is not the way to cure disease, and so they refused to participate in that mitigation measure. There is a mass murder of Christians in Gaul in the 170s. And this pandemic, by the way, lasts at least until the mid-170s, so a decade, possibly more. 50 men, women, and children who are Christians are murdered in Gaul, in one city, Lugdunum. Their bodies are burned, which is exactly what would happen to sacrifices to gods of the underworld. So there's that interesting connection. We don't know if they were killed because they had the disease or if they were thought to spread the disease, but they are clearly part of a non-compliant group that would have been targeted as potential sources of impiety and wrath of the gods. And we know from accounts just after the Antonine Plague that Christians were being blamed for a variety of natural disasters, including disease outbreaks. So that may also be part of the reaction as well.